trial at this farm that we're working with you on?
Well, we're doing strawberry research. We have 225 row feet altogether here, and we have two different weed control applications that we're working on, what we would do ordinarily on the farm and what our experimental weed control would be.
And what are your general impressions of what we've developed here with the natural weed control system, with the wool and the use of the canola? What's your general impressions of that weed control system?
I liked using the straw better than the canola. The canola was hard to control. We crimped it a couple of times and I ended up mowing it off with a push lawnmower just to try and control the stuff. 3 times I mowed it off, and the weed control was very good with it, but the hassle of dealing with it to control it from going to seed was, I think the straw was, I would prefer to use straw myself. The wool mulch worked very well. We should have soaked it down more when we put it on, because that day it got dry and it wasn't stuck to the ground yet, so it rolled off and sort of got to be sort of a mess. But I think the wool mulch is quite effective. It's going to be harder to find where there's a leak in the water lines. It'll be much harder to find under the wool mulch, I believe, than just laying on the rows of berries.
And Laverne, you use straw on both systems, the normal matted row system, well, excuse me, backing up. You use straw on this standard matted row system, correct? On this half, okay. And then the straw was used for natural weed control from the winter mulch, correct?
That's right. The winter mulch, they were all mulched last fall, and this spring we took them off and took the straw off, and it was placed in between the rows on both sections.
Okay.
And just standing here looking at both sections, you can see that there's better control right now on where only straw was put. You look down at the row there and you can see the grasses.
Sure.
Still, as we've been picking, we pull grass and weeds. So from a general overview, you can see that I think the straw mulch is working pretty well.
Right. So at any time, Laverne, on this normal matted row system, were you cultivating for weed control prior to putting down the straw?
Yes.
Okay. Till about when? Do you recall? What month of last summer?
I don't recall that. It was tilled with a little tiller.
So you were tilling.
But the
generally
the straw was placed really early.
It was, okay.
The plants were just tiny when we were putting straw in.
Okay, so you've put it on fairly early.
Yeah, it was put on from the get-go.
Okay. You did talk a little bit about weed control. I mean, and of course that's the challenges with any specialty crop is weed control. What were your impressions, of this system versus that system? I mean, maybe we could elaborate a little bit more, the general weed control with the wool and with the canola versus this other system.
Well, I can see, now you can see there's more grass down in where the canola was, and I think that's because there wasn't as much straw in between the rows. There was old straw in between these rows from the original mulching.
Yes.
And then the winter straw was put in between the rows on both sections, so this has twice as much straw as over there.
Okay.
And I think that's, time will tell, the straw will decompose. And but from now on, they're going to be treated both the same with straw.
Yes, the system was developed for, weed control efforts in the planting year. Where that's where your problem is going to be most of the time. Okay.
And the grasses on the side of our plot, I keep it down with a mower and a weed whip. And then the straw keeps it at bay away from the berries. But just mowing it is, keeps the grass in check too, to some degree. But you need to have straw at least a couple feet away from the rows to keep the straw, to keep the grass from growing into the rows.
Right. Yep. Makes sense. Okay. Well, how much more in I know you didn't keep track of your hours spent on this system versus the wool mulch and the canola, but do you feel one or the other required more hand labor? You know, the matted row system versus the wool mulch canola system. Was there any savings in labor or weed control in either of the systems?
Well, the interns that stayed at the farm last year were picking the small weeds and moving the runners into the row for the most part, and you folks were doing it on the canola side, so I don't know the man hours involved in that part.
Okay.
The straw was very effective in controlling the weeds, especially the grasses, it seems like. The bigger the dandelions will come through, but they're not that hard to pull out.
Right. So generally what I'm hearing you saying, Laverne, is that, you know, the straw that you put on the normal matted row system was pretty good weed control.
I'm quite impressed with it. And,
Okay.
I'd use straw in a garden aspect too,
Okay.
rather than keeping bare dirt between rows.
Okay.
I really would.
Do you think, you know,